This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's Tuesday today, which means, as you probably know if you're a regular viewer of this channel, that we're doing a top 5 list. And in recent weeks, these top 5 lists have sort of gathered a bit of momentum in a direction that I didn't plan, but it just seems to be happening. I watched a BBC music documentary kind of thing weeks and weeks and weeks ago, which put forward the case that the 1970s was the most fertile and diverse period of rock music. And if you want to know why that is, well, just go and watch one of the other videos where I've been talking about this. But then underneath one of those videos where I was talking about, you know, the top 5 soft rock albums, the top 5 blues rock albums, the top 5 mainstream rock albums, the top 5 prog rock albums of the 70s, you know, one of those each week. Somebody said, why not do a series of top 5 videos on the most iconic or your personal favourite guitar moments from each particular decade? So that's what we're doing. Last week we continued the 70s theme with my favourite iconic to me guitar moments of the 70s, and we're dialing it back a decade this week to look at the 60s. So what follows is a list of my personal 5 favourite guitar moments of the 1960s. This could be a riff, it could be an entire song, it could be a solo, it could be an intro, whatever. But these are the 5 best guitar moments of the 60s as far as I'm concerned. Your mileage may vary, but let's have a look at them, starting with
Apache by the Shadows.
Yeah, now I've told this story many times, so I won't bore you with it again, but basically there was a freak weather event when I was really young, like preschool, probably about 2 years old, and the TV went off, and the only way that, you know, kind of black skies, thunder, lightning and all that sort of stuff, the only way that my grandmother, who was babysitting me at the time, could keep me quiet was put the radio on, because we could still get the radio. You know, the TV was off, but the radio was still getting reception. So she put the radio on, and Apache by the Shadows came on, and I can still remember the way that tune made me feel. Up until then, I didn't know music could make you feel that kind of warm and happy inside. And I didn't really, you know, when you're that young, you don't really think about, oh, an electric guitar, I've got to learn to play that. I just knew that this was a special thing. And you know, it introduced me to the way that, I say, music can make you feel, and it's an iconic, I think, 60s guitar track. Really, it does just sneak in under the wire. It's from 1960. When I was putting this list together, I was thinking, yeah, I've got to have Apache on there. Then I had this nightmare kind of thing. Think, well, I hope it wasn't released in '59, but no, it was actually released in 1960. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure you are, but just in case you're not, then I'll link to all of these tracks, including this one, in the description below. So go and check them out. But yeah, probably the tune which set me on the path to where I am nowadays, in a room surrounded by electric guitars. The Shadows, Apache, had to be on the list. Next,
House of the Rising Sun by the Animals.
Yes, now this one, again, like Apache, is one that I remember from my childhood. I'll just preface this by saying I was born in '67, so a lot of these I don't remember from the actual original release date. House of the Rising Sun came out in '64, 3 years before I was born, and because they were from a band from the northeast of England, where I live, the local TV station, Tyne Tees, was always playing archive clips of them from, you know, their kind of heyday in the 60s. And I distinctly remember that kind of jangly, arpeggiated guitar intro to House of the Rising Sun just making me go, what is that? That's incredible. I've never really heard anything like that before. And it's, it still kind of gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. Many years later, that was probably in the 70s when I first heard it, many years later in the sort of mid-90s, I was playing in a sort of what we in this part of the world call a club band, where you're playing working men's clubs and social clubs and weddings, bar mitzvahs, all that kind of stuff, but it's mainly kind of club gigs. And to cut a long story short, we were on the same bill one day, one kind of time. It was a big charity do, as a band called the Alligators, who featured none other than Mr. Hilton Valentine, the man behind that House of the Rising Sun intro riff. And I was kind of talking to him. I've never been as starstruck in my entire life. I actually did say to him at one point, you're the reason I play guitar, and he wasn't taking that kind of compliment. He not quite so politely, told me where to go, some advice concerning sex and travel, basically, don't blame me, son. But yeah, House of the Rising Sun, it's one of those iconic 60s guitar moments, and it had to be in this list. Next.
Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix.
To be honest, I could have probably filled this list with Hendrix examples, but if I had to pick one Hendrix track that, for me, remember this is a personal list for me, that is just probably my favourite Hendrix moment, it's that intro from Little Wing. It's just so lyrical and beautiful, that sort of chord melody style of playing. That he makes it sound so effortless and fluent, and anyone who's ever tried to play that intro will tell you that there's a lot going on there, and it's easy enough to play, but it's really difficult to play and make it sound as fluent and effortless as Jimmy did. And then we come in, of course, with a big sort of solo, just incredible guitar playing. And for me, I kind of got into Hendrix via the Stevie Ray Vaughan route. I heard Stevie Ray's version of Voodoo Child on the Couldn't Stand the Weather album, and then kind of went back and discovered Hendrix, because I hadn't really been able to make sense of, whenever you saw Hendrix on TV, it was always kind of howling, screaming feedback, burning a guitar, smashing it up, and I'm thinking, really? This guy's supposed to be good? And I didn't really get it, but thank you to Stevie Ray Vaughan for giving me the way in. And when I did find the way in, this track is, just an absolutely outstanding piece of guitar work, and it had to be on this list. Next.
And Your Bird Can Sing by the Beatles.
Yeah, now I'm prepared to be argued with in the comments here, but the Beatles and Your Bird Can Sing. Can anyone else think of a kind of a rock twin lead guitar harmony part that predates this from before 65? I've kind of had a bit of a think. I haven't done a great deal of research, I must admit, but I've had a bit of a think, and I'm not sure I can think of anything that's a big harmony guitar part like this that predates it. So as far as I can see, George Harrison was something of a trendsetter with his harmony guitar part, and reading interviews and hearing interviews with people like, Phil Lynott, or is it Lynott or Lynott? I'm never quite sure which way around it is. But, that was, that informed his, vision for the kind of sound he wanted for Thin Lizzy. So there's a big influence there. And Brian May again has said that that this intro part and this outro solo as well, all the harmony guitar parts on the track were, kind of a big turn on for him for wanting to do that harmony guitar thing. So quite an influential track. And the anecdote about this is that apparently Joe Walsh, this is from an interview in Guitar Player magazine many, many years ago, learned to play it as a solo piece, and that was apparently what got him into the James Gang. I think that's the way. If I remember the interview correctly, I think that's what he said. And years later, he's hanging out with Ringo, and said, "How did George play that double guitar part in And Your Bird Can Sing?" And Ringo just said, "Oh yeah, he overdubbed it. It's double tracked." And Joe Walsh is going, "What? Am I the only guy on the planet who can play this on a single guitar?" That'll be an interesting thing to try and see if I can do. I'll try that out in my spare time. So And Your Bird Can Sing, one of my favourites, and definitely an influential guitar part for what came afterwards. Next.
The Supernatural by Peter Green.
Now then, yes, this one. In the sort of early to mid 80s, when I was starting to read guitar magazines, you couldn't read an interview in any of these magazines without somebody referencing the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers Beano album, the one with Eric Clapton. And eventually, I got myself a copy of it and really impressed. Hideaway, What I Say, all the great songs on there. But an album that is very much in that album's shadow is the follow-up album after Eric had left the band, A Hard Road, where Peter Green was Clapton's replacement in the Blues Breakers. And I discovered this album via an interview with Carlos Santana that he gave to Guitarist magazine, where he said the thing that turned him on to that big sort of sustainy guitar sound was this track on the Hard Road album, The Supernatural. It's just incredible. Just Peter's sound sounds like it's high gain when he's getting the kind of big, long kind of sustained notes that just seem to go on for about a fortnight. But yet when he kind of just settles into like the more melodic side of the playing, you're hearing it and you're just thinking, well, it's not a clean sound, but it's not, ridiculous levels of gain, overdrive, whatever. He's obviously just an expert, or was an expert, at manipulating feedback and getting the guitar at the right angle to the speaker cab to get the whole kind of cycle going and keeping the notes sustaining. And take that level of sort of guitar trickery out of it, because there are plenty of examples of things that are clever. That as guitarists we know that that's a clever thing that he's doing there, but it doesn't kind of necessarily move you emotionally and give you those kind of goosebumps. But this does. You don't have to know how clever it is to be moved by what a fantastic piece of music it is. And as I say, thank you to Carlos Santana, being interviewed, I think, by Neville Martin in Guitarist magazine many, many years ago for mentioning this album and this track. And I think I was down to the local HMV shop, or Our Price, the very next day to dig out a copy of the album. I think I had to order it because it was, it wasn't exactly the kind of stock they carried, but there you go. So yeah, The Supernatural by Peter Green, that is the last of my 5, for me, iconic 60s guitar moments. Let me know what you think of my choices down in the comments. Let me know what your choices are as well, if you're so inclined. But that is very much the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed what you've seen and found it relatively entertaining. And if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, where we drink beer and talk about music and guitars and many, many other things. What a great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.